in a few days' time, I would have been elected as a Brentwood Borough Councillor for 2 months. And I've tried to be busy, lots and lots of casework and various shenanigans with regards to me becoming part of committees, which obviously has been resisted, but I hope to resolve that at a full council meeting on December the 10th in terms of me being part of both the housing and the planning committees. But also, in anticipation of that meeting, I have sought to invoke one of my rights, one of the rights that you have as a councillor, and that is to provide and put forward a motion. And that motion, any motion that a councillor decides to put forward, has to be debated by the council itself on the merits of that motion as to whether the council itself agrees with the premise of that particular motion. Now, you'll be aware that in recent months there have been lots of arguments, lots of debate around whether there should be elections in Brentwood and indeed in Essex. Now, Essex County Council, which is Conservative controlled, has made it very, very clear that they didn't want to have elections in May 2025. And they've also now made it very, very clear via John Spence, one of their cabinet members, that their preference is not to have elections in May 2026 either. Now, the reason giving is because of this devolution thing that's happening, and the fact that the borough and district councils across Essex, and indeed Essex County Council itself, are going to be done away with, and that instead there are going to be between 3 and 5 unitary councils. So fewer councils, each one with obviously more members, but also more budget and more authority, more responsibility. Now, in the meantime, given that elections happen just about every May, Brentwood Council actually has what they call thirds. So 3 out of every 4 years, there will be an election. And in each of those years, a third of the councillors on the council are up for election. Each councillor has a term of 4 years, and that's pretty sacrosanct in terms of local government acts, of which there are 2, one from the 1970s, one more recent, whereby it is decreed that those elections will be held every 4 years and that councillors serve a term of 4 years. That is democracy. That is on the basis that you're right as a member of the electorate, as a voter, you have a right to kick out the people, whether it be the individuals or indeed party members, or the party that perhaps you feel has let you down or that maybe you disagree with. But yet again, we're seeing in Essex that there is a move, particularly supported by actually the Labour government, but also Conservative members of councils in Essex, including Essex County Council and so on. There's a move that is seeking to prevent those elections taking place. Now, the real reason, of course, is very, very different to the one that is being advanced by, in particular, Essex County Council, which says that, at the moment it's a very, very complicated time for councils given devolution, and because there's actually going to be a kind of interim shadow council elected in May 2027. In the meantime, and I'm paraphrasing here with very, very much my tongue in my cheek, it's really for the grown-ups that have been in power, as in the Conservatives on Essex County Council, to stay in place rather than new people, i.e., yes, you've got it, people from reform in particular. Better, inverted commas, for the status quo to continue, because they're the grown-ups. They're, of course, the ones, and again, I have my tongue in my cheek here as I say this, they're the ones that kind of know best, rather than you as the electorate and the people, the public of Essex. Well, I can tell you, I'm absolutely having none of it. Local elections started back about 200 years ago. I think it was 1835. 1835 is when local elections started. And they've only been interrupted, actually, in terms of postponement by 3 things. One was the Second World War, one was COVID, and one was foot and mouth. They're the only times in that near 200-year history that we've actually had local elections postponed. So frankly, I'm damned if I'm going to let the cowardice and the whimsical politics of the Conservatives on Essex County Council, I'm damned if I'm going to let them get away with not allowing you as members of the public the right to vote for who your councillors and indeed your council administration should be, because of course the more of a particular party is elected means that the majority that then ensues of that particular party on the council runs the administration. So if you decide that you want it to be a Conservative or a Lib Dem or a Labour or a Reform council, well, that is what happens when the majority of the councillors on that council are from that party. So I'll get to the point. Sorry, 5 minutes in. Well, you know me. Anyway, I have sought to introduce a motion to council on December the 10th that seeks to ensure that the council, Brentwood Council, recognises the democratic mandate that is in place, and therefore that the council assures local residents that it will, as a local authority, indeed will have local elections, so that you can decide who should represent you, whether it should be a Reform councillor in your area, or Labour, or Conservative, Lib Dem, Green, or what otherwise. Now, the problem I've had is that because I'm the only Reform councillor in Brentwood, each motion has to have a seconder. Now, if I had a fellow Reform councillor by my side in the council chamber, obviously I would look to that particular friend, that Reform colleague, to second my motion. But there are no other Reform councillors in Brentwood. I am the only one. Now, I have reached out to the 2 independents that sit on Brentwood Council. I've reached out to the Conservatives via the leader, Will Russell, on Brentwood Council. And I've reached out to the Lib Dems to ask them, any one of them, to second my motion, so that at least we can just have the debate on whether indeed this council, your councillors, believe that there should be local elections in May 2026. And astonishingly, or maybe not that astonishingly, not one of them, not one of my council colleagues, not one of the other 37 councillors will second my motion, and therefore allow the debate to be had to even discuss having elections in Brentwood. So they won't second it, which means they're not supporting me in me standing up for democracy and the democratic right of our electorate, our public, our voters, to decide who their councillor is, and indeed, as I say, who their administration should be run by. So it looks like I won't be able to put the motion forward because I don't have a seconder. Let me know what you think of that. Do you think this is absolutely disgraceful on the part of the Lib Dems, the Conservatives, and indeed Labour, because of course the Labour government is the entity that ultimately will decide, based on consultation with Brentwood Council and others, whether those elections should take place. But do you think it's disgraceful that your elected representatives are clinging on for dear life to their seats, and they don't want Reform, my party, they don't want Reform to have the influence that it should have to provide that debate, force there to be elections in May as per the democratic mandate that's already in place? It is absolutely disgraceful. Please